Forbes India Leadership Awards 2023.
Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Oscar winner storyteller extraordinaire Guneet Monga. And to talk more about the importance of telling good stories, with her, may I invite Divya Shekhar, Chief Sub-Editor, Forbes India, on stage.
Good evening, everyone. I'm really excited to have this conversation with Guneet Monga about her career as a producer and about her films. Films that have put India on the global map, films that have also, in my opinion, reflected a transition in Indian cinema, transition in the way in which we tell stories, and transition also in what stories we tell. Thank you so much for joining us, Guneet. Welcome to Forbes India Leadership Awards.
Thank you. I think the Oscar is on a round.
Yeah, it'll go around the room once before it comes back to you. And Guneet, so it's been 12 days, right? 12 days, since you were at the Academy Awards, you won that Oscar for The Elephant Whisperers. How has life been since in the past 12 days?
Of course, the euphoria, the excitement at this stage, the absolute unreal moment, and the joy of, winning India's first Oscar for an Indian production. Thank you. I don't think the shine will ever go away, but this coming back home, I literally just came back. It's been 2 days I've been in Bombay. I was saying my thank yous to Golden Temple, to my gurus up there, my parents up there. I think the real joy is now coming back home and seeing the joy in everyone's eyes, because that is now reeling in. I was not even here when there was such, celebrations, conversation. I was in LA. And so I'm feeling really happy and welcomed at home. So I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
In fact, Guneet, what you said at the Oscars was so pertinent. You said that, this is the first Oscar to be received by an Indian production, and 2 women have won this Oscar. Why was that emphasis important, that 2 women have won this Oscar, and what, according to you, is the value of this for women and girls in this country?
Firstly, less than 5% women are directors. So the stats are absolutely against us. And here is Kartiki Gonsalves, my director, who won it for her first ever film. She's been a photojournalist before. So this gives hope to everyone. And I don't come from money. I come from ideas. I come from education. And to be able to produce 30 plus films over the last 15 years, I hope it inspires everybody in India, because the film industry in India is an equity-driven industry. To be a producer, of course, you need to come in with wealth. You need to come in with making the film happen, because this is an equity-driven industry. But all my films have managed to make them raise money per film, raise money in France for Lunchbox, for Masan again. Lunchbox was one of its kind Indo-French German co-production, which of course UTV and Ronnie helped release in India. But the production of it has always been very unique. And that comes from just studying businesses of film around the world and how to make it happen, and then how to put it out there. Before entering any project, any film, I do ask myself, how can I add value? What is it that I can do to take the story further, to increase its footstep? So I'm very humbled and honored that one of my films won an Oscar, Period End of Sentence, won an Oscar in 2019. And at that point of time, I was an executive producer on it, though my company Sikya produced it, but my credit was executive producer. And it's like, now I'm going to come back here and win a trophy with my name. And now I have to come back and actually go finish the speech there. So, yeah.
In fact, this is not even the first time that you were at the Oscars, and it was not even Period End of Sentence, right? It was over a decade ago for this film called Kavi.
Yes.
And how you reached the Oscars is also an interesting story, right? I mean, you barely had any money to go get there.
Yeah, it's, I was coming off a big tragedy. I lost both my parents in 2009, and they were very, very young, and I was 23. A year later, my film was nominated for an Oscar in 2010, and my parents and I, we just would come from a really humble family. We used to stay in a 5,000 ghar ka rented house, and I really just wanted to go to US, and I didn't have the means at all. I was doing a job at Balaji. I was a supervising producer for Once Upon a Time in Mumbai, and I just really wanted to go to US, and I pulled in all stops. So every day I used to write letters to like just famous people saying, "Hi, I'm the pride of India. Do you think you can sponsor my trip? Do you think, I can get an opportunity to go attend the Oscars? My film is nominated." And yeah, some people replied, many people did not. But I think apna karam to karna padta hai na. Like you have to keep pushing. There is a power in asking for sure. And you have to ask and you have to be like, do you think you can do this? And it's valid, it's legit. And then I wrote to the President of India, Honorable Mrs. Pratibha Patil, and I got a call back. And from then, it started a whole roller coaster, like a effect of figuring out my visa. Air India came up with tickets. Just there was so much help available. And everybody was like, "We're so proud of you. Please go attend the Oscars." That is the first time. I sat on the 5th floor at the Academy Awards, and there was a dream to just go sit at the orchestra level. But yes, going up on the stage, winning a trophy, I have manifested it, but when it does come real, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
From
Thank you.
then to now, it's been a really long journey for you, Guneet, and every appreciation, every laurel is truly well-deserved. And you've taken India to the world. For many, many years now, you've represented Indian films to, say, distributors, to agents, to funders abroad. Over the years, have you seen any change in the way in which they perceive Indian films and Indian cinema?
I have to say that there's a lot of excitement around India. Always. Our stories, our vibrancy, our color, our diversity, our songs, our dance. From Devdas to, Raj Kapoor days to Yash Chopra. There is a Yash Chopra tour in Switzerland. There's always a lot of excitement around Indian cinema. It's just that our distribution is structured in a way that we are equipped to cater to the diaspora. Because we are a 100% equity-driven industry. The whole of Europe, the whole of Australia, the whole Canada does operate with government financing, and that allows breathing space for films to travel, to do festivals. There is a certain way that industry works. There is a certain way that this industry works, which is 100% equity. So at day one, it is almost like, how are we distributing and how are we recovering all our money tomorrow morning? Which then needs immediate sales, and that has been equipped in many, many, many years of that distribution has been happening, and that is equipped to service the diaspora. So to break that mold, to service the non-diaspora, to take your films there is film festivals, is agents. Having said that, that's what I did with Lunchbox and Masan and Peddlers and Haramkhor and many other films. But now, at the age of Netflix, definitely the borders have reduced. The kind of love we've gotten for Elephant Whisperers, 15 years of producing, I've never seen this level of fan art. From 2-year-olds to like 95-year-olds are mesmerized by our gentle giants. So the level of fan art, thousands of fan art we get daily. Because it's on Netflix, it's easy to watch. So 190 countries, 213 million viewers, we are talking to the world. And now is the time we put our stories on the map.
Yes, OTT has certainly revolutionized the way we watch films or we watch content, and it's also democratized it to a large extent. But how did you crack the code, Guneet? Working at a time when there was no OTT, the pre-COVID era, what did it take you to do that?
I have a very interesting story to share, and I hope everybody hears it. When I was 18, my dad actually said, maybe He wanted to figure out, he just wanted to make sure that I'm comfortable in life and I have some money. So he said, "Tum insurance agent ban jao." So I went and gave exams to become an insurance agent, and I joined Tata AIG as an agent at 18 years of age. Before that, I was a DJ, I was anchor, I was selling cheese on streets, I was doing a lot of random gigs as a teenager. I was an intern's intern, I would do anything. But this was my first real position. I studied for a few months, gave the exam and became an insurance agent. But what I studied there, because we came from, again, middle class family, and we are going to ask people to give us money because when they die, that money will, be good for their family. So it's a big ask for somebody who's making just ends meet to be able to sell a dream. So we were taught 10 people will say no to you and 1 person will say yes. And that has stayed with me forever. So when I say power of asking, I actually get excited in rejection. I get excited in no's. I'm just like, jaldi se mana kar do. Just quickly say no, so I can put the 10 no's behind, because the 11th yes is coming. There is no way it's not coming to me. So that has always stayed with me, and that has, I think, allowed me and informed me to not get upset, depressed for all the rejections in the world, because it's hard. It's hard putting together money for any film, because again, you're selling a dream, and you're putting together a money ki achhi banegi, ek din release hogi, and all the good, bad, everything comes with it. But just being honest, showing up every morning and making sure that you're in service of the story. So yeah.
Like you said, being a producer is difficult. Backing films with such conviction is also something really difficult to do, but you've done that over and over again for the past many years, and produced some of the most pertinent films of our times, like be it Period End of Sentence, or be it Elephant Whisperers, or, so what does it take to back these stories? I mean, do you have any guiding principles, or do you have any mantras that you go by in order to, decide that, okay, this is a story that I want to help tell?
Yeah, of course, it is definitely intuitive, and I hope the stride continues. Even I have been able to look back and join dots, even for myself. There's no rule. I actually don't like giving so much credit to myself. I actually feel really spiritual about this process. I'm deeply passionate about storytelling. I love telling stories. I love listening. I love meeting people. I love it. It's not work. It's who I am. It's my fabric, It gives me immense amount of joy. I actually feel stories choose us.
Okay.
So Raghu and Amu chose us to tell their story. Baman and Belly chose us to tell their story. I think Lunchbox chose me to be able to be on the path. So I feel a bit spiritual about this. And I feel like, we all work hard, but then there is rahmat. After all the mehnat, there is rahmat. That happens for all the glitz and the glamour and the awards to happen. But you just show up every morning and do the work. There is no shortcut. We are in long format. Elephant Whisperers took 5 years. There's no logic to be able to tell a 40-minute documentary and be on it for 5 years. It does not pay the bills, but it feeds the soul like nothing else.
Right. But, speaking of...
Thank you.
Speaking of Elephant Whisperers, why the film? Why Elephant Whisperers? What was it about the story that drew you in?
Who can say no to baby elephants? Yeah. Just tell me that.
Yeah.
It was gorgeous from day one.
Good point. And where do you see, I mean, you're also a producer who has told stories across formats, right? And in the wake of the pandemic, we have seen how OTT has, again, like we said, revolutionized the way we see content. Where do you see it going from now? I mean, where do you see streaming, or where do you see these different forms of content that emerged in the wake of the pandemic go from here?
I mean, it's, I think, the best time to be out of this industry, for sure. From fiction to documentary. I think documentary filmmaking, because again, we are an equity-driven industry, and it is such a hero worship, star cast-driven industry. I do feel like the emergence of Netflix is allowing documentaries to happen. Otherwise, filmmakers have to wait for grants globally to be able to shoot one schedule, then apply for a grant. It's a long-term process. So at least now documentaries are getting consumed, be it a whodunit or any kind of format, a verite or even, reality storytelling from Smriti Mundra's work to like the romantics or there's so many kinds of documentary filmmaking. Like we did verite, which was Elephant Whisperers, follow the subjects for a few years, let the story unfold, be the fly on the wall. So there's so many, there's archival documentaries, there's so many kinds of documentaries. That kind of format is just opening up. People are consuming it, people are talking about it, and that is because we've expanded our screens. We've reached all homes, and the borders have gone away, and globally people are watching it. So this definitely allows the democratization of the industry, because it allows new people to enter. It allows new voices to enter. It allows first-time directors to enter. It allows dreamers to enter, because you can pick up a camera and tell your story. There is no stopping. You can actually go win the Oscar.
Right.
So it doesn't really have to be the rules that we have been told so far. I mean, not that I've ever abided by them, but of course, a gorgeous award like the Oscar validates. So now's the time to be out of the industry. It's thriving, for sure.
Right. You know, in 2019, after Period End of Sentence got its Oscar, you said that, when you're a nobody and no one knows you, the struggle is to become a somebody. But when you become a somebody, the struggle then is to stay relevant. Do you feel the burden of that struggle now? How has it changed with your Oscars? What do you think is your responsibility now as a producer?
I very deeply feel about women's stories. I think that shift happened to me during the Me Too movement. I was working in another company and I'd produced around 20 films, and not one of them was a female director. I didn't have that lens. Patriarchy is so inbuilt, and feminism is something you learn every day. You don't even know how much to ask, if it is okay to ask. You're informed about your boundaries almost on daily basis. So it's something that I'm even learning. And I feel very deeply about stories of women, representation of women in mainstream hero-led films, pushing writers, directors out there. Whatever I can do in my 15 years of work, whatever power I have, I feel I am dedicated to pushing that narrative. So all we can do is do our best. I don't think the power of storytelling is huge. I definitely realize that. We can definitely, get into the pop culture and have conversations. Change is something that is the responsibility of the audiences and their response to content. I feel very sacred about all of this, because I feel like somebody is giving me their 2 hours for a one-way conversation. Everybody's so intelligent, comes with such vast backgrounds, and here they are, they're giving me their time to hear and see what I have to say. One way, no feedback.
Yeah.
Feedback is on social media.
Yeah.
So I feel very sacred about that time, be it 20 minutes, 40 minutes, 2 hours. I do think about what is it that we want to say. And even if we say it for fun and games, how do we represent women in that?
Yeah.
So yeah, that lens is definitely there.
Right. Guneet, it's been such a pleasure listening to you. It's been such a pleasure to have this conversation with you. I have time to squeeze in one more question, and that is that I've always wondered that as a producer, you have these multiple projects going on. There are multiple stakeholders, and there are multiple conversations, and everything happening all at the same time. How do you keep it together?
Thank you for asking me this, because I'm going to plug. I'm now trying to raise money for my company, Sikhya Entertainment. Thank you for asking. So I feel, again, I pinch myself on how am I even running this team. One has to do multiple projects to be able to sustain, because we're in long format. We're not making Instagram content that is giving us feedback immediately. Anything that I'm working on right now, everybody will see in 2025 or 2026 or 2027, and it has to be relevant then. But it consumes me entirely now. So there are processes in filmmaking. It's development. It's, of course, you have a team, you have overheads, and I'm working across formats. So one needs to do that because few things will fall out, few things will happen, and it's part of the process. I have, I've learned to be able to do it, and I want to continue doing it, and to many more Oscars for our country.
To many, many, many more Oscars for Guneet Monga. Thank you so much for joining us today. It was a wonderful conversation.
Forbes India Leadership Awards 2023.